For our Canadian lifters, pure passion, real results, what you put in your body should matter. Pure Vita Labs PVL supplements are clean, tested, and approved, powering athletes for over 25 years. They also power the KOTL podcast. You could trust PVL. Use code KOTL15 for partnership pricing at PVL.com.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Six-pack Lapadat. We got Jade Jacob and Stanley Odin, fresh off the Sheffield clash of the 57s. And obviously, Jade placing on the podium, collecting some money, collecting the bag at Sheffield. And I was just asking your guys' opinions on Sheffield. So obviously, like, this was the craziest competition I've ever been a part of. And I've been doing this for almost 10 years. It was the wildest. Was it like you expected, or when you showed up? Because for me, when I was at the venue, like the days before, it didn't sink in that this was that crazy. It felt kind of normal. It felt crazy the day of when I was at the venue and the place was packed with 2,000 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not like anything before. What did it feel like for you guys the day of?
Well, like you the day before when we visited the venue, it didn't hit me that it was gonna be this huge. I was thinking maybe like world championships. There's gonna be a lot of people, but it's gonna be, like it's gonna be calm like worlds or Euros. So when we started first squat, and I heard all the noise and the music and the crowd, uh, even the announcer, like that was so huge. I didn't expect that. And honestly, it surprised me in the wrong way at first. I was not ready for that.
Yeah. How about you, Stanley?
I wasn't expecting that. When she stepped up on the platform for the first attempt, I was shocked by the public. They were shouting. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Obviously this was a huge showdown against Joy Nnamani, but in the overall as well. Going into Worlds in South Africa, a little bit flying under the radar, right? Like people hadn't seen you coming. I mean, I picked you for fourth and you ended up. I ate that crow. I didn't see that coming. But this time everybody's seen you coming. What was the game plan in this? Was this like a redemption meet? Was this like did you guys want to get that win over Joy? Was it just the highest placing? Establish yourself as the number 157?
Well, I was not thinking of Sheffield I was not thinking about Joy really. I was not thinking about the battle of the 57s. I wanted first place overall. That was what I was aiming for. And one of the most important things for me also was the deadlift world record. So of course, I wanted to beat Joy on total, but the most important thing for me was to place as high as possible overall and to go home with that world deadlift record.
Nobody had ever taken Joy's deadlift world record. Like Joy's deadlift is like legendary. That was absolutely huge that you got that deadlift world record.
I remember back when I was still competing as a junior, and I told that to Joy also. Like I was watching her live competition, with my coach, with Stanley, and I don't remember if she was a 52 or 57, but she opened at 190 with her deadlift, and I was thinking, wow, that's huge. I don't even think I had 190 at the time, but since that day, that was my goal, to have that world record.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys, like your record, your squats, like all your lifts have gone, like the progress you've made in the since 2021 has been crazy. What do you, where's this progress coming from? Like, Stanley, did you change up some things, or is just this natural progression of an athlete that's just maturing as an athlete?
Mm, we work on the squat very much, because before we was only squatting twice a week. We went third squat at 3 squat a week and 3 deadlifts. So we up the frequency so that she can take some confidence on the lift.
3 deadlifts a week?
Yeah,
Oh
3 deadlift a week, and then after we moved to 2, and it was very interesting because she was a little bit shy on 2's movement, and the frequency very helped her. Sorry.
yeah. So going into, I remember Junior Worlds, and you got injured there. And going into the Europeans, it was almost like a bit of redemption there. You were going to eye up that world record, and you ended up taking it. What was the plan, like, at the European Championships when you hit 495.5? Did you feel like the number 157 in the world, or did you feel like it's not over yet because you didn't face off?
Yeah, no, because she was not there, I didn't think of that as like a victory. I was thinking of that competition for maybe having a wild card. So that was the goal when we went for Euros. But to me, I didn't win anything really. I maybe had the chance to maybe go to Sheffield, but I didn't think of that as a victory because she wasn't there. It was easy for me to easy to make just above what she did weeks before. So that was not really a face-off. That was not really a match. So to me, that was not really a victory.
But it was enough to get that invite to Sheffield. Were you thinking after, so which is huge, thank God. Were you thinking after Junior Worlds, did you think you'd be invited to Sheffield?
Well, after Junior Worlds, no, not at all. I was thinking, I was not even sure I could do Euros. So my coach told me, we're going to go to Euros. And I told him, no, I don't think so. I didn't even want to at the time because that was the first time I injured myself at all. So I started to believe in Euros and maybe a possible wild card when my deadlift went up. So I went from 210 to 230 in training, and I didn't get quite my squat back. So I had maybe almost the squat I had before, but I didn't get my confidence back yet. But and my bench was okay. So I was thinking, okay, with the bench and the deadlift, we can maybe go to Euros and we can try to get a wild card. But at the time, I thought I had to do at least the 500 total to get my wild card. I thought I needed to do something like crazy, like the first 57 to hit 500 to have a chance. So when I did 495.5, I was quite disappointed because I thought it was over for me. But in the end, it was enough.
Like your world's open world's performance was crazy. Like it was within 0.5 kilos that you and Joy went right to the very end. So everyone wanted to see a rematch. But then at Junior Worlds, when you got injured, for anyone listening, it was that one squat that you had a huge fight to complete it and showed a lot of heart completing that squat, but you ended up getting injured and coming out for bench press. Like you still kept coming out anyways, regardless. Yeah, I mean, you got a heart, that's for sure. So what was the injury at Junior Worlds?
Well, I had a discomfort during training. That was not a pain. I was just feeling a bit weird. And on the platform, I always lose a bit of confidence on my squats. That's why I'm still not satisfied with my squats during competitions today. But what happened at Junior Worlds was that I was anxious, sorry. I was stressed and I just change my technique, and I didn't brace correctly, so my lower back got injured.
Yeah, you could kind of see that in the video where there's like a little bit of tension loss, and then it turned into a crazy fight after that. I mean, that was wild. Could you feel it during it? And you were like, oh my gosh, I just lost my brace, but you kept fighting through it anyways, and you got it.
Well, I didn't. Well, when I finished the squat, I knew it was over for me. Like I know the competition was over. I texted my coach. I told him, okay, it's not like a small discomfort like in training. Like I'm really hurt. Something is wrong, and so I thought I was gonna stop the competition completely, but then the coaches told me that to validate my world record, I needed to have a real total.
Yeah. And you came out for bench. When you came out for bench, did you initially like try to be like, okay, let me see how much I can bench on this? Because you
Yeah.
were like, when you got off the bench, you were getting off so slow, and it looked like you could tell you were in pain. And you're like, I'm trying.
Yeah, because I was not in pain during warm-ups. Well, I was in pain, but better during warm-ups. And when I stepped on the platform, I hurt myself again.
Oh
And it was
no.
worse. Yeah, it was worse. So when I came out for deadlifts there, I knew that it was just to validate the total and not to try anything.
In Stanley, were you not there, Stanley, in Turkey?
I was there. Yeah, I was in
Yeah,
Turkey.
I thought I remember seeing you. So were you in the back, or where were you when the competition was happening?
I was in the public area. I couldn't go to the warm-up room because with the French Federation, only French coach can in the warm-up room. Private coach have to stay in the public area.
And what were you thinking when this was happening? Were you like, oh my gosh, like she probably needed you the most too, and you're stuck in the public area.
Yeah, I was I was disappointed because we worked very much. And it was sad to see that she couldn't complete the work in the platform.
When you saw that fight for that one squat, did you have a feeling something was wrong?
Yeah, the opener, I saw that something was wrong. It was too much deep in the first attempt. I saw that, and she wrote me that she is injured, and it was very, very, very difficult to handle.
So then going into the European Championships, and you guys had the plan to like take this world record and push it into the 500 kilo range. What was, because some of those calls at European Championships were somewhat controversial, especially for some other lifters. Some people like bombed out, and it was like a question on squat depth, and then the final deadlift. What were you guys thinking about the European Championships? Like afterwards, did you feel good about it? Did you like 500 kilos and plus is there? Did you think, okay, we need to make adjustments, or if a call went our way, we could have had it? What were your thoughts?
Well,
I told her that we have to all in. We have to go to the 500 to have a chance to go to Sheffield.
What were your thoughts, Chad?
my thoughts were I was only thinking about the 500s, so that's my problem. I always set like super high goals, and even in the end, even if I had the total world record, when I missed that last deadlift, I was really disappointed because I thought it ended my chances to go to Sheffield. So I was not really happy with the competition at first. Also because of the squat, because I only squatted 172.5 because I got called out on depth for my first squat, and I was really not feeling confident in my squats. Like even if I was completely pain free for this competition, I was still scared and not confident, and I didn't have the squat I wanted.
After Euros, when you took the open world record for the 57s, did you consider yourself the number 157 in the world?
No.
Not yet. What about you, Stanley?
No,
What
not
were
yet.
what were your thoughts?
The same, because we didn't fight. We didn't match the big ladies, the queen of the 57 low class. Nnamani Joy wasn't there. We went at Euros as a junior. We didn't went at European Open. So I was waiting for the confrontation in Sheffield.
So let's talk about Sheffield then. How much did these previous competitions internationally help leading into a huge event like Sheffield in terms of being prepared for it? Because some people went straight into Sheffield without having worlds. Did it help being in these battles and at these world championships, dealing with that pressure?
Honestly, no, we didn't have at all.
Really?
So, yeah, no, because my first open worlds, I wasn't really battling with Joy because we came in the competition thinking, let's have the biggest what we can have. Maybe we can take the world record. That's what we were thinking when we started the prep for open worlds. And we were not thinking about the podium at all when we started the prep. We were thinking, okay, they're open lifters, and I'm not super confident, so maybe fourth place, maybe third place if somebody has a bad day. So when I started the competition, I was not thinking about a battle, and I was not in the mindset of okay, let's battle for first place. Even when she almost bombed out and it became possible for me to maybe end up first place, I was still not in that mindset because I prepped that championship to not even step on the podium. So to me, it was not a battle, and the room, like, there was not a huge crowd, there was not a lot of noise, no music, no nothing. So of course some people in the public like are going to encourage you, but it has nothing to do with Sheffield, honestly. After Sheffield, I talked a bit with every lifter, and Tiffany, she told me that she was happy she did the Arnolds before coming to Sheffield, because apparently the Arnolds is a bit more like a show, a bit more like Sheffield. And I've never been to a competition like this. Only Euros, World, and it has nothing to do with Sheffield, honestly. So I felt like it didn't help me at all. If anything, it did the contrary, because I was expecting something like a big world championships, and that was not that.
Oh, this was like a rock concert or something. It was crazy.
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad about my preview show for Worlds when you picked yourself for fourth, because I think I said, well, I know I said fourth too. So I'm like, okay, I don't feel so bad if you also said that. But as the battle was unfolding at Worlds, I mean, you surprised a lot of people near the end. Did you know that you were at Worlds 2022 against Joy? Did you know you were pushing her for the world championship? And by the end at the deadlifts, you were like, oh my gosh, I might take this.
Yes, by the end of the deadlift, I knew, and I didn't realize it before the competition ended. So I knew I was pulling my last deadlift for the first place, but I only realized after it was over that I battled with Joy. That was only after everything after I cooled down, because, like I said, I was in the mindset of just trying to compete with open lifters.
And like how quickly things change from like just competing and having fun to like, I got to be the best 57 in the world. I not only having fun, I got to be number one.
Well, it changed right after this competition. After that, I was a bit disappointed because I only missed third place by half a kilo, and I was really hyped up for the rest of my season, but it kind of went down after the injury because I thought I couldn't even do Euros, and I thought maybe I was doing too many competitions and I couldn't recover correctly. So it went down, and when I started my rehab and the pain started to fade away and the lifts started to go up again. When I realized, okay, I can go to Euros, I can go I can make a great total, and maybe I can get a wildcard to uh, to compete again, to try to prove myself again. That's when I was thinking, okay, I need to be the best 57 in the world.
Yeah, to come out 0.5 kilos behind Joy, and it was a great battle right to the very end. Everybody wanted to see a rematch. Stanley, what were you thinking going into Worlds? Did you think that Jade might be able to take it?
Yeah, I was thinking that, yeah, that she could take it, but but 0.5, it is very small. So personally, I was satisfied.
In I remember talking to you as well as Jade about because there was some controversial calls for Joy in terms of the squat. And I remember being like, what's your impression about her squat? Like this is at the 2022 Worlds, Open Worlds. And I remember you saying, I don't want to beat her like that anyways, like her bombing out. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna go right to the end. So it meant now, or do you feel far more satisfaction having gone head to head with her and beating her outright?
Yes. Yes. Now I'm satisfied. Like now I can consider that I won against her, and I think that's the first time in this season I can really say that.
It's definitely like, even though it's probably super duper stressful, like losing by 0.5 initially, you got to look back and like, damn, that was close. Then being injured, taking the world record by 0.5. So it wasn't the 500 you wanted, but it made it super close. So, and probably in a lot of ways, if you're like SBD looking at this, you're probably telling yourself, if it's close, everybody's going to want to watch it. But if you blew it out of the water, it isn't nearly as close. So it's harder to hype, right? Like maybe all's well that ends well, and it's better this way,
Yeah, maybe.
even though it's super stressful. It was getting injured and having to deal with all this. But when you were at Sheffield and how did you feel during squats? Because squats, you look good.
Well, honestly, during squats and during bench, I was not feeling good at all.
Oh, really?
Like I said, I was not expecting this, and I know it was the first time for everybody because it was the first Sheffield edition. And but I know I don't handle stress and pressure as well as some other lifters. And so when the first squat started, and you have a whole way when you can wait until it's your turn to go up on the platform. And I was in the hallway. There's stairs to go to the platform. I didn't even go up the stairs, and I was hearing the crowd, and I was feeling the walls like moving because of the bass of the music. And I was thinking, it didn't hype me like it should have. It scared me. I was like, wow, that's too big. And when I went up the stairs with my coach, and they were loading my squats. And before they called my name, I turned around and I said to him, I was not expecting that. And I tried to say it as calmly as possible, but I just wanted to cry, honestly. I wanted to, whoa, I was overwhelmed. So I went to my first squat and it was good. I went to my second and it was great. Like I was feeling great. I was like, wow, 180, it moved perfectly. Let's go for the world record. And then I failed my third, and I was not expecting to fail it because I was feeling really great. So that just crushed me. I was like, wow, I can't afford to lose any points because all the women in the category were really strong. And I think everybody had when you look at the results, except for Evie and Noemi, like we're not really far away, every lifter. So everybody had the chance to step on the podium. And I was thinking, maybe I just ended my chances to win or to step on the podium. And at every failed lift, I was thinking about that. That plus the crowd and the music and the light, and that was a lot for me. So for squats, I was not feeling great, honestly.
And on the women's side, I think 8 of the women broke the total world record. Like the women were just so competitive. Like everybody was above the 100% range, and they were like a threat to podium. It was super tight. What were you thinking, Stanley, after the squat event? Did you think that Jade was still in a position to hit the podium?
Yes, I still be on the podium because the best lift of Jade is the deadlift, and the squat was finished. And after bench is not her best friend, but I was very, very, very confident on the deadlift. I was only waiting for the deadlift because we trained hard on this movement.
Which is ironic because that's like Joy's bread and butter is that deadlift. For the bench press, was it like the new rule that was difficult to adjust to, or what was going on the bench press?
Yeah, that was the new rule. So in training, I was filming from, just to see if I was within the rule, if I was deep enough, and it looked good during training. And but now I realize it was just right. So when you read the rule and you look at my lift, you can see it looks right, but just at the limit. It's like if you squat just deep enough, you can get red. And so so I did my first, and it didn't feel great, honestly, but I never feel great on bench, so I'm used to that. And so my second, it went up, it was hard, and I saw 2 reds, but I didn't check the little colors underneath. And when you see 2 reds, you think about your butt maybe went up, but I was sure my butt didn't move off the bench. So I was confused. I was thinking, I was asking Stanley, what's happening? Why did I fail? And so he was just telling me, just focus on your next lift. We're taking 100 again. You have to get it up. But it just confused me even more, like not being sure if it was the depth. And if it's the depth, I was thinking, well, it's too late to change anything because it's too late for me to change my grip or change where I land the bar, maybe, because it's too late. We're on the competition, so it just put my mood down even more.
What were you thinking, Stanley? Did you start getting a little nervous when you guys were missing benches?
To be honest, I was afraid. In the warm-up room, the last warm-up was very slow. We took 87.5 kilogram for the last warm-up, and it really was very slow, man. And with the new rule and the pressure, the how can I say that? The plan was to put the bar more to the chest and not in the higher position of the arch, so that she can have some round of motion, so that she can be deaf, so that her elbows can be deaf. But at the last warm-up, when I give her the bar, she went on the arch, on her abs, and not on the chest. So I knew that it would be hard. So when in the first attempt I saw 3 white lights, I was like, oh yeah, we won't bomb out.
Yeah, we won't bomb. We won't bomb, at least. It was I talked to some coaches like the strength guys, and Jason Tremblay said he was working with some people for the powerlifting American Nationals. And on the day, he had a couple people change their bench setup just to make sure they hit depth. And then some of them ended up getting like injured because of that. So he was like Deuce Gruden, he said, injured his shoulder, and he's like, oh man, maybe I shouldn't have told him to switch it up. And so it's tough because if you switch up during the day and the person's not used to it, I mean, it'd be worse.
It was a bit of a blur for everybody because that was the first international competition since the new rule. So we had some national competition in France. So we could kind of see the new rule being applied, but they're not the same referees. So we really didn't know what to expect. But that was a risk. I'm just happy I didn't bump out. But honestly, that was one of my, I think it was my worst bench session ever since I started competing. And I had one out of three before. That was not the first time, but I don't know if it felt horrible, and I was feeling so overwhelmed and stressed. And honestly, when I came out from the bench, in my head, I lost already, and I was really, really down. So yeah, that was hard.
So you thought, like when you came out for bench or like after bench, you thought, okay,
After bench,
really? What
after
were
the
you?
bench.
What were you thinking, Stanley? Were you thinking that maybe she was off the podium now?
No, I believed on her deadlift. I was like, when she was telling me that she's out of the competition, I told her, no, you still have the best lift, the deadlift. Go, we have to go at 100% and do a great deadlift.
It ain't over yet,
Honestly, I cried so much. I think maybe I scared the other lifters.
Really?
Yeah. People were coming and asking Stanley, "Is she okay? Do you need help?" Like, wow, because I was out of it completely. And I even told him, let's go home. Like, I'm going home.
What? Like,
Because
get
I
my
was thinking, like, what am I doing here? Because that was not, except for the squats, even if I failed the third squat, that was not a great day. I was not feeling strong. Sometimes you have bad days for competition, but I kind of knew that I didn't know for sure, but I was feeling like the same thing was going to happen with the deadlift. And my prep for Sheffield, it went great. That was my best prep ever, I think. And everything was perfect almost. Maybe the bench, we were not really sure. The deadlift were okay. I didn't really fail anything. Same for the squats. So everything was great and perfect and great and perfect. And the last heavy session came. That was the Saturday just before Sheffield. And so that was my last heavy session, my last SBD day. And I was supposed to do like 3 heavy lifts, like a heavy top set for the 3 lifts. So I came and I failed the squats. That was I failed my top set on squats for no reason. And for the little story, I know I don't handle stress really great for now. I'm working on it, of course, but I'm not there yet. And so I knew that Sheffield was big. I don't know it was going to be this big, but I knew Sheffield was the biggest competition we ever had for now. And so I was telling myself, I can't be too stressed. I can't be too anxious because I'm gonna miss everything if I am. So I just acted like Sheffield didn't exist. When people were asking me about it, I was I was telling them, no, don't think about Sheffield. Don't talk to me about Sheffield. Yes, I'm ready. Everything is going fine. Thank you. And I was like, don't talk about it. I don't think about it. I'm just preparing I'm just preparing my competition. And so when the last heavy day came, everybody was posting stories about Sheffield, and maybe they were in the plane or they were packing their bags. Last heavy day for other lifters also. And I was thinking, wow, like it's coming, it's real. And I was not even at my last warm up on squat, and you can ask Stanley, I was slow and it was hard and it was not moving well. So I came for the top set and I failed. And I started to cry, of course.
You failed this. This is in prep, right? Not at Sheffield warming up.
In prep.
Okay.
Yeah, in prep. And so Stanley told me, okay, don't worry, you have 2 more lifts, don't worry. And if it happens in competition, if you fail your last squat, you still have bench and deadlift. So he told me, really focus now because it can happen in Sheffield. Just show me that you can handle failure. Okay. So, okay, let's bench. I'm going to do better at bench. So I got on my bench and I failed my top set again.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, okay, let's retake it. We can do it again. So I retake it and I fail again.
Oh my god!
I said, okay, that's a bit much. And I start to cry even more. And Stanley is trying to calm me down, saying, "Oh, don't worry, deadlift is your best lift. Just put your anger in it, okay." And so in prep, my deadlift went. I never failed. Maybe just the double I tried, but that was not really a fail because I was aiming for 1 and tried 2 for fun. And so I go on the deadlift and last warm up 220 and I fell and it stays on the ground.
You didn't get off the ground. So you're like, all right, no. Stanley, this is a terrible day. Stanley's like, I don't even know what to tell you.
I'm like, that can't be like that. My last heavy day, I'm taking the plane in 2 days. And I was crushed. I was thinking, oh no, this can't happen now because my whole prep was so perfect. And it was just the stress hitting me, because he said, you tried to ignore me your whole prep. Now I'm here and I failed every top set. So when I failed my last squat and I failed my 2 benches, and Stanley tried to tell me, don't worry, you still have deadlift left. I was just thinking about the last session. I was thinking, that's just the same thing repeating. I'm just going to fail deadlifts again because I don't feel well. Like I don't feel strong today. That's definitely a bad day. And on top of a bad day, I'm stressed. So honestly, I went into the deadlifts. Well, not on the platform, but when I went for warm-ups in the deadlifts, I was really not confident. Like really not.
Yeah, I bet. Like, I don't blame you. I don't think I've ever been in a situation where prepping for like this is the biggest competition ever. Not just for you, for everybody, ever in the sport. And in your last like heavy prep, everybody's like posting these big lifts, like, hey, we're at Sheffield. And you're like, man, I missed 3 times in a row. Like I'm missing all my top lifts. But when you were in Sheffield, like when you landed in your at the hotel, did you feel confident again? Because the hype on you was big. A lot of people were picking you to possibly win. Did you tell yourself, all right, I could turn this around? Or was it in the back of your head like, maybe not?
No, when I landed in Sheffield, yes, I was feeling confident again. So of course, even after my last session, I was a complete failure. Even after that, I was not thinking, okay, well, I'm going to lose. There's no point in going. I was thinking, that was just training. The taper is going to do its magic, and I can still like get first place because that was my goal, honestly. But I just lost that confidence after bench. Like after my last squat, it can happen. You don't always hit your heavy squat during the comp, but
Yeah.
like two benches and 92.5 is not a lot for me. That's not even heavy for me. So staying at 92.5 on my bench, I mean, that's a really, really small bench. And so on my total, it took so many kilos for me.
Mm.
So yeah.
How about you, Stanley? After that last training prep, when she was missing lifts, were you worried?
Yeah, I was very worried. So we went 2 days before the competition. We went to the SB the local to train. Last training, we did some squats, and I was there. Don't worry, it will be great. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. We took 150 kilo for reps, and I was there. Don't worry, you can do it. Don't worry, you can do it. But man, honestly, worry.
You're like, don't worry, but your face is like, you know, like, don't worry, we're all good. But it was yeah, that's I've never heard of a situation quite like that where you're failing lifts right before. Did you have to cut for it as well or no? For 57?
Oh no, no, I didn't cut. I was like maybe for the last heavy session, I was maybe at 57.2.
Uh
During when I landed in Sheffield, I was eating like morning, noon, night. I was eating every like all the time. So it was not weight. So it was only just me. Like really, I have no excuse.
right, yeah, that's true too.
Yeah.
You're like, what's my excuse for this? It is funny how tapers do help though. Like those taper gods are friendly. Sometimes
Yeah.
they can like come in and bless you. So going into the deadlifts, even warming up, you said like the deadlifts didn't feel good. And you're like, oh my gosh. Like, was it? How was the
Uh,
weights moving?
uh, it felt horrible.
Oh,
Like what? Everything was slow, and like Stanley told you, he kept repeating me, okay, just put your anger in the bar, like in your lift, put everything in there, like take your revenge. And every time I was telling me, okay, it moves well. And we come to the last warm up, it was 205, and it's super slow, like super. And it was so hard. I looked at Stanley. Usually he can hide the fact that he's worried because he knew I'm get stressed out really fast. And I look at his face, and he's looking at me like, "What was that?" Wow, that was hard. So I'm super worried, but we say, "Okay, let's go." And honestly, it was hard for me to think that my opener was 10 kilo above that.
yeah.
Uh,
I mean, frig, even though I know what happened, I'm right now like, holy smokes, this was tough. Stanley, what were you thinking when you were watching these deadlift warm-ups in the
I was,
205 is that slow?
I was I was waiting for the deadlift session until the beginning of the competition, and when I saw the last warm up, I was like, man, it will be hard.
You're like, don't worry. When deadlifts comes, we're good. Don't worry, don't worry. Then you see 205 and you're like, oh shit.
Yes.
The mark
Wow.
was waiting the bar for us was looking at me like, man, it will be hard.
Yeah.
The 205. Maybe I will send you the last warm up on video in
Yeah.
Instagram. You will see. It was very slow. I I was like, I I was I wasn't good.
You guys were like, all right, we'll see you in Malta then. Like already, you're like, all right, well, we got Malta. We got Malta. It's all
And
good.
Redemption at
that's
Mal.
why that's why my opener almost went down,
Yeah, I was
215. It almost went down because it was much faster, like it was much easier than my last warm-up. And you can see my opener 215 was already slow. I was not a fast opener. That was not an easy opener. And Joy went right after me, super easy, like it was nothing. But even if it was slow, it almost went down because it was so much easier than my last warm up, and it felt really. So I almost lost my balance because I was expected to have a really hard rep.
So after that, when you hit your opener and it was easier than you expected, did all of a sudden you're like, oh, were you like, okay, maybe we could do this? Or were you like, I don't know, because Joy just smoked her opener and deadlifts is her thing?
Honestly, I really can't say to you what I was thinking because right after I went down in the hallway, and Stanley told me, okay, she's hitting the world record. And I was like, okay. I was thinking, why is he saying me that? Like, is he telling me that? But okay, she's hitting the world record. And in my head, I just wanted to see how my second lift was gonna go up. Like I was not thinking about the match anymore or my ranking. And well, that's a good thing I wasn't thinking about the ranking because he didn't tell me, but I was maybe like 8th or 9th. I don't remember. But in the live, so if at the time he told me, okay, right now you're in the 8th position, well, that that
Like,
would have
what?
been hard for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have put even more pressure onto me. So I didn't know what my ranking was. I just knew Joy was hitting the world record. And I knew I was not hitting the world record for my second attempt. So I just wanted to see how am I going to move my second lift because I want to take that world record back.
You're going all in. Stanley, talk to me about positioning in your attempt selection in the deadlifts. Because Jade was talking about she was like around 8th or 5th. So what was your plan in the deadlifts? It was Joey's going to go for the world record and you guys go all in for the last one, or?
The plan was to see how the 230.5 will go up for Joy, then choose the best lift. So when I saw the 230.5, I saw that she was a little bit difficult. So I said that we will go at 231 after we go all in lift and expect to get the three white lift. And with three white lights, I thought that it will be enough to go to the podium, and it did.
And obviously you can make like money on the podium, but also make money on the world record as well. So you're collecting like 2 bags at once.
Exactly. And in the public, I was having a friend whose name is Aurélien that was helping me. He was with a little paper and was writing all the possibility, and it writing to me in WhatsApp. So it was very helpful.
It's unusual for like I was saying, nobody breaks Joy Nnamani's deadlift records. Like, though, that's just Joy Nnamani's bread and butter. So to load up the deadlift world record was huge. And she's been obviously powerlifting for a long time. I also want to ask you guys, I know we were talking about, I can't remember if we were like recording it. When you seen that Joy came in wearing a belt in knee sleeves, Joy never ever, she's won like 2 times as a 52, the world championships, 2 times as a 57, and she's never worn a belt in sleeves. Never. So for her to come in with a belt and sleeves, did you guys see that in the warm-up room? And what did you guys think when all of a sudden she's wearing a belt now?
When I saw her in the warm-up room with a belt and sleeves, I was like, okay, the rematch will be insane. It will be spicy.
Spicy, yeah. Oh, it was spicy. What were you thinking? Sorry, keep going. Did you have more you want to say, Stanley?
Oh no.
Okay. What were you thinking, Jade?
Stanley, he pointed that out to me. He said, Joy is putting on her knee sleeves. And I looked and I said, oh, wow, she's starting her warm up early. Like, I didn't realize at first. And then I said, wow, she has knee sleeves. And then we saw her putting her belt. I said, wow, she has a
Whoa.
belt. And honestly, at the time, it didn't change anything for me because I was guessing that it hasn't been a long time since she started wearing her equipment. So to me, it wasn't like now she's gonna have a super heavy squat. I don't know. I didn't think anything of it, to be honest. But we had a bet with Stanley. So he told me she's going to wear equipment one day, and I told him she's never going to do that. And so he won.
So why did you think maybe, Stanley, that she'd wear equipment?
Because the match against Jade was very interesting. The first meet was 0.5 for her. The second at Euros was 0.8. So the last Sheffield, I think that it was obvious that she will take something to go her squat because it's the only one lift that Jade are higher. So I was pretty sure that she would wear the belt and the sleeves.
And did you guys see that she had actually competed as a small 63 the week before at British Nationals?
Yeah, I saw.
Like,
I don't really understand why,
yes.
but she doesn't seem like, maybe I'm wrong, but she doesn't seem like the type to get tired easily. So I think if she did that, she knew that she knew that she could, honestly, I think.
Like, obviously she's super strong, confident, and knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
But it was surprising. And she totaled 480. So at the time, were you guys surprised she totaled 480? Did it increase your confidence when you seen, okay, or what were you thinking?
Oh no. When I saw she competed just the way before and did 480, I knew she went easy, like she didn't go all out. That didn't really give me more confidence because I knew it was not an indicator of what she can do the day of Sheffield.
What were you thinking, Stanley? Because some of those lifts look kind of tough.
I was watching the British Nationals, the 67 kilo class category, but I didn't saw Joy. It's much later that when I listened to your podcast with the prediction on Sheffield, that I knew that I knew she was competing at 63 kilo category. So I watched the live. So I rewatched the live, and I saw her. I was a little bit very easy on the bench. No, easy on the deadlift, easy on the squat, but it was a little difficult on the bench. So I was a little bit afraid.
It was I wasn't sure what to make of it. It was 480, but so there was room, but it was still a week out. But maybe it was kind of like the same as taking a heavy SBD session right before, like people do sometimes, right? So maybe you would act like that. And then I got word that she might be wearing like people are talking like, would she put on the belt in knee sleeves? And if she did, that would be an indication of just how much respect, we'll say, she would have for Jade, because she never wore a belt and sleeves. So for this rematch, for her to put it on, she must have known, I need these extra kilos. It was like, so when she came out, it's like, oh my goodness, Joy Nnamani never put on a belt before, and here we are. So we knew she was taking this seriously. But yeah, I'm glad it wasn't super duper in your guys' heads when you seen it. Stanley, what were you thinking? Were you thinking, did you anticipate a big jump in kilos? Because I think she hit squat PRs, or she did.
I wasn't expecting that. At the moment, I thought that the equipment won't help her. But when I heard 170 on the bar for Nnamani Joy, I was like, wow.
Oh, damn.
Oh, I was like, wow. At World in South Africa, she was at 160. Oh no, 157.5 on squats. Now 17 in the second attempt. I was like, okay, it will be very, very hard.
Yeah. So when you guys, so going back to the deadlifts, Joy Nnamani takes the world record and you guys go all in on your last deadlift, load up for that world record. Did you think, so yeah, did you know the world record was loaded? And did you realize what you were pulling for?
I knew the world record was loaded. I didn't know it was 231 because after my second deadlift, I started to feel confident again, and I was thinking like, well, he can put whatever for my third deadlift. I'm going to put it. Honestly, when
Really?
when I tell him that today, he's telling me you didn't have 1 kilo more than that. But I honestly think I had a lot more than that. I think I would have pulled whatever, well, maybe not 250, but even if he put 235, I would have pulled it because I really wanted that last deadlift. So I knew it was the world record. I knew, but I didn't know it was for third place. So when I pulled it, I honestly didn't doubt for the last lift. I had a lot of doubts for my first two lifts, and it was not even doubt, it was fear. Like I was super afraid to fail one of the lifts. But when it came to the last, I was confident.
How did it turn around for you? Because it's like your last prep, you were failing lifts, then squat, bench, failing lifts. And then when it came down to it, what turned this around where you walked out there and you're like, it doesn't matter what you load, I'm going to hit this?
Well, I think I'm not sure, but so my opener, even if it went slow, I told you it went better than the last warm up. And each lift was better than the last, well, in how I felt it. So my second 225 felt a lot better than 215. But like I said, I was super scared to fail that lift because I knew if I fail one lift, it's over for the world record. Because if I fail my opener, he's gonna make me do the opener again. And if I failed my second attempt at 225, he's gonna make me do 225 again. That's what I was thinking. And so for 225 attempt three, when I said I'm panicking a bit, I was trying to play it like
Cool.
maybe play it cool, but I was really panicking because I was thinking that was the first time I was scared of a lift. When you're in a meet, you're always doubting, okay, I'm not sure if I can hit this, but am I going to do it? Maybe you always have this little doubt that maybe you're not going to hit it, but it's a possibility, but you're going to do everything you need to do to hit that lift. But that was the first time I was really scared. Like I can't fail. So when I didn't fail that second attempt, I was just thinking, there's no way I'm failing the last. When there's no way I'm not pulling. I was thinking he was going to put me to 35, honestly.
Really?
And I was thinking, okay, I got the last one. Because to me, I don't know. To me, maybe it's just that fear that went away. Maybe I still had that bit of doubt that you have for every lift, but I was not scared anymore, and I think it changed everything.
It's crazy how quickly things can change in your mind, though, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know. To all of a sudden be like, load up 250. We're going in. But does it give you confidence now moving forward, knowing like I can miss a squat, I can miss a bench, I can have a bad day and I could still pull it out. I could still regroup and make this happen.
Yeah, so of course it gave me a bit of confidence, but it also tells me that I have a lot to work on. So I know that if it happens, I can still have a great match thanks to my deadlift if I stay in my match, but I just don't want it to happen again. So I know it's a possibility, but if possible, like if I miss some lifts, I rather it be because I'm just too weak, not because I'm so stressed that I just can't do it, or because the crowd is so huge and there's my face on a huge TV,
Yeah, that was great.
So I just want to know I did the competition I came to do. Because honestly, even if I'm happy, because like I said, that's the first time I can say I won against Joy. I'm not super happy about my performance. And that's why my coach knows this, but I was even really disappointed with myself and with the result. Because, of course, I was aiming for first place, but that's not really the fact that I came third that disappointed me. I was just expecting uh, a total so much bigger, and I was expecting to. I feel like I just didn't show all the work I did during my prep and all the work I did since Euros. It's like well, of course it's not the same total, but it feels like the same. Like it doesn't feel like an evolution. It doesn't feel like I did something better. Well, I'm super happy for that dirty free record, of course, but I'm really disappointed in my overall performance because that doesn't show all the work I put into the preparation for this meet. So I know what I have to work on for Malta.
Well, we got Malta coming, so don't worry about that. But it was a
Yeah.
little not all, like I know what you mean. Like if you got these expectations of the certain numbers, but you also showed like you could battle through adversity, which is big. Some people can't, and some people get overwhelmed. And it's okay to like feel these feelings as long as you could step up and make it right. And you felt the feelings fine, and you had your moments fine. But what happened when you had those moments and you felt those feelings? Pulled yourself together and broke a world record. Like that's huge, right?
Yeah, well, uh, it doesn't feel huge to me. I don't know how to explain it. To me, it's like that's the least I could do after failing my two other big lifts. Now, if I failed everything, then I would have failed everything. So to me, it's not huge to do a good deadlift when you failed everything else. But of course, it's huge because that's the deadlift record I wanted, and I beat Joy, and I broke the 500 total. So yes, I know it's huge in a way, but I don't know. There's just like this bittersweet taste with this meat that I keep. I was even saying to my coach, so when I started to when I knew that I was going to do some podcasts and review and others, I was thinking, I don't even know what I'm going to say because last time I was on your podcast, I was to talk about the open worlds. And I was glad, even if I was a bit disappointed with that half a kilo, I was still happy with what I did. And I was happy, even though I didn't hit the bench I wanted and I didn't hit the squat I wanted, but I was still happy. But for Sheffield, it's not the same. I was thinking, I'm going to talk about a meet that I failed, in my opinion. So I didn't know how I could talk about it. Like my, if I was going to have a more positive point of view, because when I came back from Sheffield, when I landed in France, like still like maybe a week after, I was super disappointed still.
Really?
Right, yeah. And I'm also disappointed with how, of course, I handled field because how I lived the competition. So it was great before and it was great after because I met all these other lifters, and everybody was super nice and it was great to meet everybody. But during, I didn't have fun like I should have, because even my parents, they were watching the live home, and when I came back, they told me, "Oh, the other people, they were enjoying the show, and we were seeing you. You didn't seem like you were having fun." And I said, "Yeah, I was not having fun. Like that was just hard for me." And the whole experience was just a reminder that I'm not mentally strong enough. Uh, but now the disappointment is kind of faded away. Now I'm just excited for Malta, and I'm just even more happy about that last deadlift, of course. I'm happy to have that record, and I just want to be sure that if maybe for the other years I go to Sheffield again, I'm not saying that I'm going to do the perfect competition and not fail any lift, but I would just want to be sure that if I fail, I fail in the right way.
It's yeah, it's interesting. Like I know what you mean in terms of like at a major event being present and just feeling, allowing yourself to like enjoy the moment and be like, wow, there's 2,000 people cheering. And there's like thousands, like people were cheering like crazy for you. You had a bunch of people who came in from France. So it's tough to be like, damn, I didn't fully be in the moment, and, but it's easier said than done.
Shame. Yes, that's easier said than done, but I just take that as a lesson. I'm not going to, maybe I didn't express it well, that didn't ruin the whole experience for me. Like, I'm still super glad I was invited. And Sheffield, like, the city was beautiful. I loved the hotel, the lifters, even the staff. And so I enjoyed the experience, but not the competition in itself, because I was just too much pressure for me. But yeah, honestly, I'm still happy I was there. When you watch the live, you don't really see how huge the event was. So when you watch live, because we hear your voice and the voice of the other commentator, and you don't really hear the crowd for the live. So most people who were watching, maybe they don't realize how big it was, but that was honestly the biggest competition ever.
It was like, it wasn't only just 2,000 people who like bought tickets. Like this is what's crazy. Like there were like musicians and bands, and if they can pack 2,000 people to watch them perform, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. This is crazy. You guys are powerlifters, and people were buying plane tickets, hotel tickets, bought their ticket for Sheffield, flying in to watch you. It was crazy. Like to think that that's where we're at, that you performed in front of 2,000 people, and they were like, the music was bumping and I could feel it in my chest when I'm commentating, and the crowd was crazy. They were on their feet. When you hit the platform, Jade, there was like a section of people from France that would stand up waving flags, and I was like, holy smokes, man.
So there were French people that came along. There were French people from Noémie's club, Leah and Tiffany's club, and there were French people from my club also. But every time a French lifter went on the platform, all the French people cheered. So that was great to hear familiar voices. But honestly, one more point I'm super glad about is that Sheffield invited our coaches with us. That was honestly another great point compared to other meets, because I honestly don't know how I would have done this meet if I couldn't bring my coach. When for Worlds and Euros, now I'm used to it to have the national team coaches with me. Now I'm used to it, but that's not the same as having the coach that does your whole prep with you. That's not the same. And so I'm glad about that also, because even if it was hard for me to stay in the match after all the failed lifts. I think after the bench when I said I'm going home, I was maybe not really thinking. I didn't really mean it maybe, but maybe if my coach wasn't there, maybe I would have went home really.
You're like, you're shaking people's hands. All right, see you in Malta. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Enjoy the banquet. I'll talk to you guys later. Like, what? Yeah, we're all good here. We're all done here. Thank you. Yeah, that's huge that Stanley was able to be there. And it's true, like he's with you. Not only does he do your program, but you guys are in the same gym. Like you guys, like he's literally got your back when you're squatting, like spotting you. So when Stanley's there, if it hits the fan and it hit the fan at Sheffield, and Stanley's the one being like, it's okay. We're all right.
Yeah.
It's different. Thank God Stanley was there, because if it was someone else, like if it was a national team coaches and you're like, we're done, I'm out of here. They might not know what to say. Yeah. What was your impression, Stanley? Were you kind of like, it makes it a little easier for yourself because you knew Jade and you're like, I think I could talk her back into this.
Yeah, yes, but the little problem it was that it was my first experience in international meet. Usually, I'm with Jade in training every day. We are training in the same hours, but in international meet, I can't be there. I can't be in the warm-up room to change to do some technical change if it's needed. So it was a little bit stressful for me because it was my very, very first experience in international meeting, and it was very, very hard to handle because we were near some queens, Amanda Lawrence, Bonica Brown. That was very, very, very stressful. Some more very, very much pressure and very stressful. But after, when the bench ended, we was acclimate, so it went good.
Dude, talk about a big first international. Sheffield, that's your first one. You'd be like, oh my God. Like, dude, that's crazy. And not only was Sheffield crazy, but like the way you guys described what was happening in the warm-up room, you'd be like, is this the way it always is? Because this is crazy.
Yeah, that was really crazy. When we went to the waiting, I opened the door. I saw all the coaches, all the athletes were waiting for waiting. I was like, oh damn. that will be difficult.
I was there. So I was in the warm-up room, or no, sorry. I was in the weigh-ins with everybody. And everyone's like going through the list. And they were like, they're like, make sure everyone's here. Somebody messaged me being like, make sure that everyone's there. All right. Like usually this isn't like when you're commentating, but it's kind of a all hands on deck situation. I don't know if you guys use that term in France, but meaning everybody helps out everywhere if you can, right? So I'm in the back and they're like, can you make sure everyone's there? And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, oh shit, where's Jade? And I remember they're like, I messaged her, I'm like, you guys good? Like, are you guys coming? Because I was like, oh man. And I had to leave to go back to the commentary booth because I had to get back there. But I left before you guys showed up. So I'm like, oh my God, I hope she made it. I didn't know. So yeah, it was stressful. Were you guys late on that, or how did that go?
No, we were on time. No, we were on time. We just didn't come, sorry, exactly on time, but I was not late for my way. I just remember at this time, I still didn't feel anything towards the competition. I was still in that kind of numbness, let's just ignore the fact that I'm going to compete in a few hours. And I was asking Stanley, like, is that normal? Like, I'm not feeling stressed. Is it okay? And he was trying to reassure me. But yeah, honestly, that was so weird. That was weird.
It's yeah, it would be weird that you're like, is it normal? I don't feel nothing right now. Like I'm not stressed, I'm not nervous, but Do you think that's interesting? First off, that's really difficult to do, to be able to put it all aside. I mean, that's like a superpower. Like, I wish I could do that sometimes, but, but do you think having done that though, it kind of led to it all jumping at you at once when it happened?
Yeah, yeah, of course. That was well, same with my whole prep and my last session. And it was the exact same thing happened. So I
Hmm.
ignored it my whole prep, and it all hit me at once with my last session. And that was the same thing for from when I landed in Sheffield to the actual competition. And yeah, so that's a good lesson from me. Like, don't try to ignore the meet. Don't try to ignore the competition or the stress I may feel about it. Yeah. So, and that's a weird thing because after this competition, and even before that, after every meet or when I do Q&As on Instagram, everybody's telling me like, how are you so mentally strong? How are you so determined and things like that? And it's weird to me that people think that because that's all the opposite for me. Like, it's not that I have no willing, like I have no strength at all. That's not that. Like, but to me, I just have so much more to do and so much more to learn, and I have so much work to do on my stress management that I it's weird to me when people compliment me on that.
Yeah, I think people, I think when people see like athletes like you and like other athletes in other sports, I honestly think they tell themselves like, you guys are like, obviously your guys are special, but they forget that you guys are like still people. Like, they don't tell themselves like, no, 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 whoever you're watching, they tell themselves, I would be so nervous if I was in that position. I'd be so scared, so much pressure. And they forget, yeah, those people feel that too. Like, they are nervous. They are like, even like a Taylor Atwood who's been in so many battles and he's so like confident or like cocky the way he carries himself. He's going to be nervous. He's going to feel it. It's nobody doesn't like it's difficult to turn off your feelings. The thing is, you guys just know how to operate even though you feel that way. Like, if you're scared, you do it scared. Or if you're nervous, you do it. You just learn how to do it anyways. But it's, I mean, you still performed and you still went over 500 kilos, even though it wasn't like the total you wanted, and still won the battle,
Yeah.
the 57s, win on the podium. So there's a lot of good takeaways, but it is like a high stress situation. And actually, I wanted to get, how was it being in the wings and watching Joy Nnamani deadlift after you went? Was it like, oh my gosh, this is intense? Did you watch it? Did you not watch it? What were you thinking then?
I was super happy after my last deadlift. Of course,
Right.
the only moment I went 3 on 3, the deadlift record, over 500 totals. I was super happy, and I went to Stanley. I was like, "Yes, we did it!" I was happy. And he said, "Stop, that's not over." Like,
Really? Still, they don't
and
celebrate
yeah,
yet.
he stopped me right there, and we went and watched Joy. So I'm not gonna lie, that was stressful, and I thought she was going to do it, and I don't know, I thought she was going to do it, but I was not really surprised when she didn't. There was a weird feeling, but yes, after that I watched all the other deadlifts from on the women's side. Uh, Bobby last deadlift, Bonica, sorry, Bonica's last deadlift, Amanda's last deadlift. So
Mm,
all these incredible lifters. It feels good to watch other people lift when you're done.
yeah, because you could appreciate. You're like, okay, and when when you were on the platform getting your trophy, what did it feel like then? Because I remember watching you, and you were like, it looked like you're trying to keep yourself cool, but you were like fading yourself, like, oh my god, it looked like you were, you know, progress up doing that. I remember watching you doing that. What were you thinking? Were you like just trying to keep yourself composed? Were you? What were your thoughts then?
I was just super hungry. honestly.
Hungry.
I was just thinking about, yes, I was thinking about when are we gonna eat, and I was also super happy for Noemi. Well, I know she was a bit disappointed because of the results, but like I said in the interview we did before Sheffield, I was saying, of course, I was aiming for first place, but I was saying if it's not me, it's Noemi. She came second, so I was super happy for her. But I didn't have any real thoughts on the podium. Yes, well,
What did you feel though? Like, was it? It looked like you were dealing with some emotions. Were you happy at least? Were you proud? Did you? Because you had 2,000 people cheering for you, and you're on the podium.
yeah, I was proud, honestly. Up until I completely cooled down and we left the venue to go eat. I was not. I kind of forgot. Sorry, my disappointment, and just kept the feeling of the last deadlift. I was super happy about that last pearl, about that world record. So yes, on the podium, I was proud, and it was just the feeling of, because I saw all these people. I It's like I heard them during the whole competition, but I never really saw them. So seeing them now, I was just dealing with the feeling that, wow, okay, it's finally over.
Mm.
It's over, and I was glad it was over, honestly, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Maybe in both ways.
I mean, you did just win a battle, even if it didn't go like exactly you wanted. You won a huge battle. You're on the podium, and like 2,000 people are cheering for you. That'd be crazy. Most people never have that like in their life. Never know what it's like to be on
Yeah,
stage with thousands of people cheering for you, and you're like, oh my gosh. But
yeah.
and then afterwards, that's when like after you ate, settled down, then you're like, I could have done more. That's when it came for you.
That's when it came. Well, it was always there, just the euphoria of the last deadlift
Mm.
took over. But yeah, the funny thing about it is that I never really thought about Sheffield as really as a match against Joy. Like, of course, I wanted to win against her, and I wanted that deadlift record. Um, but I don't know. To me, it was more about the overall rankings,
Mm.
and so both it goes together. Like, if I rank first, of course I'm gonna beat Joy, but that was my first goal, honestly. I didn't really think about that face off as the main goal.
Hmm. That's because you were confident. You're like, I want it all, man, not just Joy. I got to beat everybody. What we got to do it all here. In terms of like overall, your well, okay. So Sheffield's done, and we get to see all. Like, I don't know if you got to see all the different. If you rewatched the whole thing, did you rewatch it all afterwards? You were saying
Yeah.
No, I didn't really.
you
Yeah,
didn't. Okay.
not me.
Oh,
Yeah.
when now that it is over, but you know, like who did what? What do you think was like the biggest performance coming out of Sheffield?
To me, it's Jesus Olivares.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was crazy.
honestly.
How about
I
you,
don't know about
Stanley?
Stanley.
The same. Jesus Olivares was insane. Also, the third attempt on squat of Bonica Brown, 280. That was
Oh yeah,
huge.
Yeah, that
Very,
was.
very beautiful. It was wow.
Did
I
you?
I I don't know if I said it before, but when I watched, like, Stanley made me realize something about Bonica, and when the competition was over, and so I didn't rewatch the whole thing, just some parts. And he told me, look at her, look at how she's focused, because Bonica in real life, like, she's super, like, joyful and energetic and everything, and when she steps on the platform, there's a shift, and she's really focused, and you can, like, when you watch her in real life and on the platform, you can't say it's the same person.
Mm.
So And that's the same thing with Amanda and Carolina, for example. Uh, just watching these lifters, I just saw that I was not there yet. Like I can see the difference between the way I handled my competition and the way they go on the platform. That's like honestly, I really admire them for that. That was really a learning experience to see them go for their last deadlift. I didn't get to watch live all the squats because I was in my competition, of course. But just seeing the live after and seeing the last deadlift, when I was watching them, I was thinking, "Oh, okay, so that's why we're not on the same level, you know."
Well, you beat them though, right?
Because it was on percentages, but
Yeah.
in my head, honestly, in my head, I'm not a better athlete than them, like by far.
Wow. So imagine when you do though. We'll
If
see.
I do someday, I'm not sure, but for now, I'm just watching them. Really, I really admire them,
Mm.
honestly.
And when you were done, were you able to like, did you watch the men's obviously and see like because they came afterwards?
Yeah, I watched them and only
And
for the last deadlifts because
yeah.
after each movement, you had to warm up for the next. I watched them and it was crazy. I maybe I'm wrong, but I felt like the match was even more. Yeah, it was even crazier than for the women. Maybe that's just because the weights were so much heavier, but it felt crazy honestly. And they're really like they're showmen, so they
Yeah.
were putting on a real show. That was good to watch.
It was yeah. Like I think the women's was more competitive, but like more women broke world records. But the men's was tight, like the battle of the 105s and 93s. But you're right that they were showmen. Like Gavin, I don't know if you probably saw afterwards just when he broke the squat world record. And he was like yelling at the crowd, and the crowd's yelling at him. And then afterwards, when he looks at the camera and he's doing like the throat slit, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like they were super duper showmen. And the ladies like were too, but just a little more reserved. But do you think like later on moving forward, more and more of the women will start being more show women?
Well, honestly, I can't say. I I think women make the show just differently. To I don't know. To me, like Amanda Orange, for example, and Monica Brown, they made the show without all these big gestures and everything.
Mm.
To me, it was still a huge show. Um, Maybe it has to come naturally, because uh, it's just different ways to make the show. I don't know if women are going to do the same. I don't know if it would feel the same with women, honestly. So
You
I'm not
mean
sure.
you're not gonna do this after you squat or whatever? Do like the throat slap? Like
No.
that, if you did that at Malta, I'm like, oh my gosh. But yeah, it's true. You got to be yourself. And Gavin, like that's just who Gavin is. Like Gavin said, he loved like when the crowd gave him that, he was like, oh yeah, it was just come naturally to him. But you don't want to force it at the same time. But who knows? In like 4 or 5 years, when we get used to it.
Well, I'm I don't know. Honestly, I just do my lift and then I go back there. So
You're like,
I'm not
I almost
sure.
left after bench press. You're like, I was going to catch a plane after bench press. So I wasn't fair enough.
So yeah, I asked, oh well, I was asking that maybe 2 days ago to Stanley. We were watching, I don't remember what we were watching, but a lifter, and I was saying what could be my celebration after a big deadlift. And he said,
Really?
no, you can't think about that. But I don't think I could because it doesn't come naturally to me. Sometimes I'm thinking, okay, I can do like some other lifters and go and do a fist bump with every referee after my last deadlift, but no, I'm just back in the room right after. So that's not my thing for now.
You could like do the robot and start dancing a little bit or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it is. We'll see what happens. Who knows what's gonna happen in the future. In terms of Noemi Aliber's clash with Evie Corrigan. And I remember we were all talking about it previously the day before. And I remember asking Noemi, what was her motivation knowing she's the only 52? And Noemi says, I'm not the only 52. And I was like, well, who's the other 52? And she said, Evie's a 52. And I was like, oh my goodness. And she already knew that Evie was going to come down kind of sneaky. What do you think? Did you think like did you know ahead of time too? Did you hear those rumors as well? And what did you think when Evie came down?
Well, go ahead, Stanley.
Go ahead, Stanley.
I was watching the scoreboard with the opener of all the lifter, and when I saw AV in the category of Noemi, I was like, "Whoa, really made it!" Because in South Africa, she was in the same category of Jade's category, and now she's in the 62, and she made a real good total. I was like, okay, it will be interesting. With the openers, she was 30 kilogram far of Noemi. I think if I remember, if it's the good information, I was like, okay, the match will be insane between both of her because I knew Noemi. Noemi is very competitive, so the show will be on fire.
That's what I was told. Like, I remember I was talking to some of the people. I think I was talking to Penna, and Penna said, this is going to make Noemi like ferocious. Like if you come down, it's going to be a battle. Like she doesn't back down. And I was like, oh, wow. I didn't know how it was going to happen though, because like, when you cut like that, it can not work out for you sometimes. Like it doesn't just, you cut that much weight and show up at the biggest powerlifting competition of all time. You do a cut like that, it might not have worked out. It was a really risky maneuver, but it worked out. I was like, holy smokes, this is happening. 460 in 454. That's crazy for 52s. They pushed each other like crazy.
Yeah.
I was in shock. What did you think, Jade?
The first time I heard AV might go in the 52, sorry, was in your preview podcast. Some people said maybe she's going to go 52. So to me, that made sense. That made sense because I thought it's going to be easier for her to do a high percentage of the world record, but I wasn't expecting her to have such a great performance, honestly. Even when I knew she was going to be a 52, in my head it was Noemi, like just her. I didn't think she was going to be in such a great shape with that cut. So I was surprised. Like I was really, really surprised.
Yeah, it was something else. Do you guys want to take a 2-minute break, come back, talk a little bit about Malta, and do the name game? Because I gotta go wash them real quick.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I've been drinking coffee. Okay, we'll take 2 minutes. Alrighty. So yeah, talking about Malta. Joy had competed at British Nationals as a 63, so she didn't cut back to back in a week. So now Joy is going to be in Malta a 63. So do you think she'll return to the 57s at some point in the future?
Maybe I think she will.
Yeah.
I think it's just this year because it was kind of close to Sheffield, but I think she is going to come back.
What do you think, Stanley?
I'm not sure because in 63 she can take the world record on deadlift and she can push it more because she can weight more.
She would. And I mean, 63s is tough because you got Chiara Bernardi from Italy, Carola Gara, Megan Scanlon. But if Joy won, she'd be a 3-division world champion, which is crazy. But that's a really difficult task ahead. And do you feel like if she does go 63, do you feel like now you guys are even because you had defeated her head to head on the platform?
Well, to me, we're even. Maybe not to her, but yes. Of course, it's not over because she might, like I said, I think she's gonna come back and we're gonna face off again. But if she doesn't, and if she stays in the 63, I'm happy with the last confrontation we had.
And looking ahead at Malta, who do you think is the number one opposition for you now?
For me now, it's Natalie Richards, of course.
Did you watch her performance at PA Nats?
Well, I watched a Hermit recap. I didn't watch the live at the time. So, and we've been watching her since, well, Stanley is going to confirm, but since before the USAPL separated from IPF, like right before.
Yeah, before at Jade's first World Championship in junior, we thought that the USA will let Celine Krum and Nat Richards compete on the 57 category.
So that's 2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys have been watching her for a couple of years now.
Yeah. We thought that she would have come on IPF and take the title on the 60 in the 57 kilo class junior.
And you were going to say something, Jade. Were you going to add something?
No, I was going to say the same thing. So we watched her because, and Celine Krum was 57 at the time also. We were thinking maybe they'll be at Worlds, so there might be potential threats.
And what do you think's going to happen at Worlds? How big are these totals? Or are you not thinking about the numbers anymore? Because it's tough because you don't want numbers to get stuck in your head, but it kind of helps set goals.
Well, I think she's going to be a big threat, of course, because she's really strong. But honestly, I like face off. I like when confrontation. So all the stress I felt at Sheffield was really because the event was huge, and it was not because I was facing Joy. So that's the same for Malta. So of course I have the typical pressure for any meet, any world championships, but I'm not super stressed because I'm gonna face Nat Richards. I just know it's gonna be a great match, and to me it's like the confrontations I had with Joy. It's the same thing, but this time I'm gonna have to defend the world total record. So yeah. I can't wait.
Because you've been in battles before, so that's nothing new. At the very least, too, when you go to the World Championships after Sheffield, you'd be like, man, this is easy. This is nowhere near as stressful in terms of like Sheffield. It's going to feel way different.
Yeah, it's going to feel different. I just know the confrontation itself, it's not that makes me super anxious and stressed out. So for that, honestly, when she announced that she was switching to powerlifting America and she was coming IPF, I was honestly happy because it's not that I was waiting for that since 2021, but to me, it just makes the competition better.
Yeah, that everybody's in the same federation. Like she was kind of the odd woman out. Like the other 57s, like you, Joy, like 57s are stacked, like Bobby Butters
Yeah.
to it's stacked. So for her to be not in there, it's like, oh, Natalie, like come on over. You know, this is where like all the 57s are. But so yeah, I was excited. From like a sports fan, you want to see the best go against the best. And I was so happy she decided to come over. And we'll see. It's going to be super duper hyped. I can't wait for Malta. I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Yeah, I bet. Because this will be this is an opportunity for your first Open World Championship.
Yeah, that's the opportunity to have my first Open title.
Do you guys want to play the name game?
What's that?
So I say a name and you say the first word or a couple words that come to your mind, or a story or whatever. It could be something as easy as this. Like if I say like Jesus Oliveras, you might say world's strongest man, or you might say huge squat, or you might even be like, whatever. You could say as much or as little as you want. You could say as little as one word or a bunch of words. Some people get into stories and be like, let me tell you a story about blah, blah, blah. So there's no right and wrong answer, really.
Okay, we play at the same time?
Yeah, we'll play it. Yeah, let's do it at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's do easy one off the bat. We'll go to you, Jade, first. Joy Nnamani.
I'm thinking deadlifts, of course.
How about you, Stanley?
I thinking rematch.
Rematch. Run it back. Maya da Silva.
I'm not good at that game. For Maya, I was picking hair. Like that doesn't make any sense, but I was thinking about her hair. So
she's got good hair. Hey, there it is.
Yes.
It's true. She's got good hair. How about you, Stanley?
Big squats.
She has got a big squat. She just squatted 180 kilos.
Yeah. 180.
Yeah. How about Natalie Richards?
Huge confrontation.
Confrontation. What are you thinking, Jade, when you think Natalie Richards?
I think about a strong opponent.
How about Noemi Alibert?
I'm thinking total world record.
How about you, Stanley?
Rematch against Evie Corrigan.
It's going to be super duper good, huh?
Yeah.
It's going to be huge. I can't wait.
I mean, they're within 6 kilos of each other, and Evie hit 460. I don't know what the heck's going to happen, but oh my gosh. And there's a lot of other 52s that are good too. Like not just them too. So the 52s are going to be can't miss. How about Samantha Eugenie?
Oh. I'm thinking progress. I know she's going to have a huge progression in the next few months.
Yep. How about you, Stanley?
Open World Championship.
Can you imagine? It'd be
it would be insane.
So let's do the next one. That kind of like segues into the next person. Leah Bavois.
Well, the first things that comes to mind are world records. She has so many and in 2 different weight classes. So I think that's her thing.
Yeah. I mean, especially I have 2 different weight classes at the same time. How about you, Stanley?
Yeah.
Experience. She's a great lifter.
Yeah, she's got experience. This is true too. She's been up and down as well, and all around, been through battles, handled adversity. Okay, one more each for each of you. Okay. I'll go to you first though this time, Stanley, and then we'll go to Jade.
Yes.
Jade Jacob.
greatest powerlifter in the world. Maybe in 1 year or 2 years, she will be the first. I hope.
Okay, what do you think when you hear that, Jade?
He might be right.
He might be right. Well said. And Jade, how about this one? Stanley Odin.
Well, that's gonna sound almost the same, but I think he's the best coach in the powerlifting community. Honestly, I think he's only coaching French people for now, but when he's going to extend internationally, I think you're going to hear his name a lot. Honestly.
I mean, if people see what he's done, with the lifters he has, you got to think some people are going to start reaching out. That's for sure. It only helps. Well, listen, guys, thank you for coming on the podcast. I mean, we did 2 hours. That's pretty good. Crushed 2 hours out of it. And for everybody listening, please do subscribe and give us high ratings, whatever platform you're on. And Stanley, if people want you for coaching, how do they get a hold of you, sir?
They have to DM me in Instagram. My Instagram, Dreator.
What's your Instagram?
Dreator. DREATHOOR.
In Jade, is there anybody that, or you could go to Jade's Instagram. Do you have Stanley on there as well?
Yes, on the rich post, Stanley and my club.
There it is, man. You can find it. You can find them anywhere. And Jade, is there anybody you want to thank before we let you guys go?
Well, apart from my coach, of course, I want to thank my club because they really supported me through my whole prep and since I started powerlifting also. Some were at Sheffield and others supported me by watching the live, but everybody was behind me, and so I want to thank them.
There it is. All right, guys.
I want to maybe a special shout out, to the vice president, Ludo Tavares. So special shout out to him and my coach, Stanley.
Okay, there it is. All right. Thanks for coming on, guys. Good luck in training, and I'll see you guys in Malta.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.